start with item number 16. It's an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan. It's docket number 165404, block 848, lot 53. It's 30 East 20th Street, located within the Ladies Mile Historic District. A Beaux-Arts-style store and loft building designed by Frederick C. Zobel and built in 1906-07. The application is to remove fire shutters.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hillary Paget, Preservation Department staff. This property is located on the south side of East 20th Street, here, between Broadway and Park Avenue South. And the applicant is proposing to remove deteriorated fire shutters at the rear of the building, which is not visible from the street. And the engineer is here to present the application.
Hello, my name is Anthony Velli, and I work for Cali Engineering. I'm here representing the 30 East 20th Street owners. So back in the summer of 2013, Cali Engineering performed a facade inspection at 30 East 20th Street. Upon our inspection, we discovered on the rear, the south facade, deteriorating fire shutters. Now, the owners of 30 East 20th Street are new owners. They took over ownership about 3 years ago. Since then, they have been doing what they feel is best for the building, restoring it and repairing the building as necessary. So there are currently 16 fire shutters on the rear of the building. You can see I have them indicated with these square shaded areas. At one time, there were possibly all the windows had fire shutters, creating a total of possibly 66 fire shutters were possibly there at one time. This image here is just showing a detail of how the fire shutters are currently installed using these standard iron pins attached to the brick facade. I'm going to continue with the slideshow. It's going to show you some photographs of the building, and here we have an aerial photograph of the building. This is 30 East 20th right here, and I have outlined the courtyard areas where the neighboring buildings have a view of 30 East 20th Street's rear facade. As you can see, there is no view from the front streets or any of the neighboring streets around it. Here is a shot of the rear facade, kind of giving you an overview of the existing fire shutters.
It's the building also, it's also on the right-hand side too.
Correct, so this is one edge of the building, and then right just beyond the fire escape there. Here's just another photograph showing the overall rear facade. All right, so getting into the fire shutters, we're asking that we remove them because they are deteriorating to a point where we feel repair would be very difficult, and they are over time, they will become more of a hazard to any pedestrians and tenants in the building. Here's a good shot of one fire shutter that's severely deteriorated. You can see that there is holes forming at the top portions where the iron is bending and deteriorating. This is a picture from the neighboring building behind it, trying to give you a good head-on overall shot. So this is 6th floor windows. I labeled the windows as A and B for left and right. So this would be 6th floor A window right here. See, it has 2 fire shutters currently. The window next to it, the B window, only has 1 fire shutter currently installed. As we continue down the facade to the lower floors, the deterioration worsens. You can see there's a large amount of rust here and here at the top again, where holes will begin to form and bending of the iron has already started. If you look over here, this one is also severely deteriorated with a lot of rust, and the same, it's very common or typical throughout the fire shutters that at the top here, it starts to bend and create holes, and that's where it starts to fall apart. So this is another shot of the fourth floor. Just giving you another overview of how much deterioration there is and rust on the fire shutters. Let me just go back one. You can see that some of them are not secured to these windowsills with that iron bar. As you can see here, this is what they should have. So some of them, this is the sixth floor, do not have that secured to the facade. Okay, so this is further down the line. This is the second floor A and B windows. This is where you see a lot more of the deterioration that has occurred, especially right here on this right fire shutter of the B window. This is pretty much falling off the base of the fire shutter. Same thing is happening on this one and here. And as you can see, this security bar right here that holds it in place has come loose, leaving these fire shutters free to kind of move freely in the wind if should it be a windy day. Again, another shot of the second floor. Deterioration of fire shutters, just a lot of rust on these. We feel that repairing these would just be very costly and difficult to do, something that the owner is not prepared to go about at this time. Again, that's that single fire shutter on the third floor, window B, or I'm sorry, second floor. Same fire shutter, second floor, window B. This is the worst one out of all of them. That's why I'm kind of displaying to you how much worse they can get over time. This is severe deterioration of the fire shutter. This is a fire shutter on the second floor third floor. To the right side of the rear of the facade, it's the C-line windows. Typical rust and deterioration. It's a single fire shutter on that window. All right, so this gives you an overview of the rear courtyard of 30 East 20th. Here you can see there's a bump out in the building. This is the first floor of the building. The courtyard is let out from the basement. So the first floor is right here, where this fire escape ladder is about. And this is a skylight on the first floor, where there's a restaurant currently being renovated in that area. So our main concern is with these fire shutters, if they were to remain in place and deteriorate even more over time, that they could possibly fall and damage the skylight and hurt any pedestrians that may be in the restaurant at that time, as well as any workers and staff that may be in the courtyard or the restaurant. These are more photos taken from the fire escape. You can see more deterioration at the tops of the fire shutters. It's typical throughout. Okay, so this is a picture of a neighboring building. It's a little bit hard to tell, but the neighboring buildings did have fire shutters as also installed at one time. They have all been removed. So this is a building to the southeast of the 30 East 20th Street. And this is the building directly behind it. As you can see, they still have those pins in place where fire shutters used to be. So Cali Engineering's main concern for these fire shutters is that they're going to deteriorate even more over time and cause a hazard to any pedestrians that are in that restaurant where that first floor skylight is. we feel it would be very difficult and costly to repair these fire shutters. In order to do so, a grid would have to be installed on the building, and that alone is a cost just to repair them initially. Now, over time, you know, there's routine maintenance that's required to keep these fire shutters up to a certain standard. Say every 3 to 5 years, I feel they would have to be maintained, wire brushed, painted, every 3 to 5 years, just to maintain them to prevent what has happened already. So I open the floor to any questions you may have, any clarifications I can make.
Yes, Diana, and then Kim.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, were there originally fire shutters on the first floor?
I do not know if there were originally fire shutters on the first floor.
You don't have any pins there or anything anymore?
No, not that we could see.
Okay.
Kim?
Wait,
Have you, what are you putting in instead of the fire shutters? Usually fire shutters were there to protect the windows that were
They were used back in the day before we had fire suppression systems to prevent any spread of fires that may be in a neighboring building. So that's what they were initially used for in the early 1900s. Today, there is no use for them. They have no purpose in today's modern applications.
did a lot of conversions, and people who took off the fire shutters usually had to put in wired glass, tempered glass, with a sprinkler head over it, instead of the fire shutter. So have you filed with DOB, and did they tell you to take off the shutters without having to do anything to the windows?
Yes, we have approval from the DOB as well as the LBC to perform, well, I'm sorry, not for the fire shutters, but to perform the facade restoration. I'm here today to get your approval to remove those fire shutters so that we can go ahead with the PA or the DOB that's at removal. The building currently has a fire suppression system, so there really is no need for fire shutters in today's application.
All right, other questions? Yes, Michael?
Have you spoken with contractors to determine what it would cost to restore these?
Yes, we have spoken to, there is a contractor already on the building. His price to, remove these fire shutters, well, first he would have to rig the building to remove the fire shutters, take them to, I guess, an ironsmith that would then wire brush them, bend them back into proper shape.
We're going to need more than wire brushing. I'm just,
And it looks like,
The cost that was given, $5,000 just to do the drop, and then to remove and repair them would be from $15,000 to $20,000.
each,
No, for
the whole thing?
For 16.
That's all? Well, that's pretty good. All right, thanks.
But you need to do the same thing in order to remove them, right? I mean, you're gonna, the issue about the creating the drops or the scaffolding. So, I mean, the cost of the drop is not really, should not factor in here, because you need to do it either way, not that we consider costs.
Correct, but they are already going to be working on the facades of the building, so for them.
there you
All
go.
right, so then that's really, again, not an issue that we should be considering in, you're saying that it should be, it's a financial hardship for the guy. He's bearing that cost, come what may.
Right, so he will be working on the building.
Okay.
There would be an added cost to repair the fire shutters,
No question.
but then there will be also the future cost of maintaining them for years to come.
He's got a fire escape though, hasn't he?
Yes, there is a fire escape.
Don't you have to paint that every 2 years, or else it's gonna fall apart?
Yes.
Okay.
all right, other questions?
Just if there are a couple of the shutters that are in not so horrible shape, are there a few that are,
The ones that I first displayed at the top, these are ones that are in better shape compared to the ones towards the bottom of the facade that are already falling apart and deteriorating.
I guess the next question, have you considered actually, you've asked us to remove all of them, and some may very well be in such a state that repairing would mean remelding or putting something together, but some of them, what would they require just to maintain them and fasten them properly? The safety issue is that they'll fall. that could be done, right? When
Right,
you're doing your
so-
facade, and just sort of fasten them to the building in a more secure manner. And I don't know what it'd take to just to do some basic maintenance of some of them, so we don't lose all of them. So is there a more sort of nuanced way of looking at these, because they're historic?
Right, there is a way we could fasten them to the facade. The only difficulty would be these in the middle where they would overlap.
So
No, no, no.
Okay, so the issue is that it seems like there are two issues. One is that they may just crumble and fall, right? And the other thing is that they flap, right? Is that the two separate issues?
Yes.
No, I don't think that there's a problem with the fact that they flap. There's a problem with the quality of the steel at this point. It's not that they flap, right? I mean,
Well, he said that only because he said he'd fasten it to the wall.
oh, I see.
The
Oh, I
security
see
is
your
gone,
point.
that's
I
all,
see.
and it just has to be replaced, you know? Yeah.
And likely the fire escape to the right was installed after shutters, so the shutters were removed in order for the fire escape to be installed, right? Because I can see the,
Right, so you can see that there were fire shutters installed on all of the windows at one point. Here's a pin right there.
Yeah.
I can't say if that's why they removed them to install the fire escape. It does make sense since you wouldn't be able to open the fire shutter, it would hit this railing here all the way.
Yeah.
So it kind of defeats the purpose. Not only that, if they're open, it becomes an obstruction in the fire escape, and you wouldn't have safe passage in the event of the fire to get down to the fire escape.
All right, any other questions? Are there speakers on this item? Any speakers? Yes. Mr. Bell?
Christabel Goff for the Society for the Architecture of the City. We have always advocated for preserving iron shutters, and on this occasion, some of them seem to be in really terrible shape. However, surely it would be possible to retain some of them and restore them and leave at least a memory of what was on this building in a section where you could consolidate the ones that are in better condition. We've already heard that there has to be painting of the fire escape. Perhaps they could be arranged in a way that the two things could be done together. It would be a terrible shame to lose all memory of this interesting historic feature. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers on this item? All right, we did receive a Community Board 5 recommendation, which recommends approval of this application.
Yeah.
All right, are there other questions for the applicant? Okay, so we can go into discussion. All right, comments? Yes, Michael, why don't you go ahead?
I would like to propose that, and based on your photographs, I think that some of these will require complete replacement of the sheet metal. Might be possible to salvage the frames, in which case there's an issue of authenticity of what's left over. However, I would be reluctant to say that within the 16 shutters that are left, you would not be able to find 2 windows worth of salvageable shutters. And so I would propose that, working with staff, the applicant survey these shutters, determine if there are 2 windows, 4 shutters, a set of floor set of shutters
Or more.
that could be restored and reset in the windows using, if those shutters don't have the holdbacks, salvaging holdbacks off one of the other windows and restoring a set so that we at least have an artifact from the original building.
Yes, Michael?
I mean, I see nothing terribly wrong about having, stabilizing the situation on as many of the shutters as won't completely disintegrate in the process, and trying to, if they've got a hole or 2 in them, but they're painted with Rust-Oleum, I think they'll last a while, and I think, if they can be repaired, even if they're not in perfect shape, I think the more the better. I mean, they are historic material, and they yeah, we should try to keep them. It's certainly not an area where the owner is looking for aesthetic perfection, so let's try to keep the material.
All right, other comments? Yes, Diana?
The reason I was asking originally about the first floor is I was thinking, well, maybe there's some place, I mean, maybe it's next to the fire escape, I don't know, where they could have easier access to the ones that were repaired, just so that they could maintain them, you know, easily, so that they would be kept in good maintenance. But that's really something the staff could determine where it would make sense to reinstall them if we have some that can be repaired and reinstalled. And I could support Michael's.
Okay, yes.
Basic support of the position, but, I mean, these things have no use anymore.
Yes.
No use. They're ornamental, but they're a historic relic, as was suggested in the testimony. And I think certainly one window at minimum, maybe two windows, they should be consolidated, and working with staff, work them out. But the idea of wholesale fixing them up and spending money to do this strikes me as a complete waste of time, because as Michael Devonshire said, you know, and then what's the authenticity of it? So I just am shying away from trying to do too much of this. Let's preserve a couple of windows worth if we can, preserve those, restore them, let them be as a relic of the past, and let's move on.
All right, other comments? All right, I would agree with Fred and Michael Devonshire on that as well, that it'd be great, and they could work with staff to at least retain few, if it's 4, so that is always there. But in terms of trying to do the entire building, I mean, they and this is my eye, they look like they're in very unfortunate condition.
And they can be seen by nobody, except a few people
Right.
in the backs. You know, so it's not as if it's an ornament in front of the...
Yeah.
All right, could other commissioners support that? Okay. All right, so I know that Mike Goldblum, maybe not, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would just, I think I agree with Commissioner Devonshire that, I'm sorry, Goldblum in this case, that the more, that an evaluation should be made, and if there are more than the neat 4 that can be kept, then that should happen.
Okay. All right, so I think I've already closed the hearing, right? Okay, so Michael, do you want to read the resolution? Yes.
A matter of 30 East 20th Street in the Ladies Mile Historic District, an application to remove fire shutters. Noting that the style, scale, materials, and details of the building are among the features that contribute to the special architecture and historic character of the Ladies Mile Historic District, and also noting that the metal fire shutters on the rear facade are in a deteriorated condition, I recommend approval with modifications, noting that the deteriorated condition of some of the shutters warrants their removal. However, I find that the removal of all the fire shutters at the rear facade will eliminate significant historic fabric and will detract from the significant architectural and historic character of the building. Therefore, I recommend that, working with staff, the applicant will reassess the condition of the shutters and determine if there are shutters that can be salvaged and/or restored and will be reinstalled on the building in a restored condition. Correct?
Okay. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, good, so the application's approved.